TikTok billionaires and your wallet, and why this battle means a lot more than you think. Today on the Economic Report. Hey, it's Brian, and thank you for joining me. And today we're paying attention to a topic that is really going to impact you, your family, and the future of America in many different ways. And if you've ever heard of TikTok, it is one of those social media platforms that are super popular, particularly between ages 40 all the way down to like 13 years of age. And this story isn't just about busting a dance move. Really it is. It's about data, it's about attention span, and it's about influencing the way people think and the way they act. And the fact is, while this does impact the United States, make no question about it, this is going to be an impact throughout the entire Anglosphere, and this is why you really need to pay attention, because it has lots of ramifications, including things about your wallet. So let's get real clear. TikTok isn't just an app. It is a behavior mechanism, and we have to understand that the algorithm inside the TikTok platform really tends to know people better than people know themselves. That's right. That algorithm knows the way people think, the way they act, and knows how to manipulate their behavior. And it's kind of a scary thought if you think about it this way, but I'm here to say these are very, very real things, and they're shaping the way people act here throughout the entire Anglosphere. Of course, one thing you might say to yourself, like, well, isn't this thing coming from China after all, Brian? And if so, why should I really care? And the fact is, the TikTok that the Chinese use is done for educational purposes, and the TikTok that the rest of the world does is for pure entertainment and developing thinking patterns and behavioral patterns. So I want you to pay really, really close attention to the story, because it really does have a powerful impact. So let's get real clear. The monolith is the name of the algorithm that TikTok has developed, and it's the one that's able to predict behaviors and, once again, take people down certain alleys and avenues that maybe they typically wouldn't go.
When I first started using TikTok, it was just like people dancing or like joke videos. That's what were most of my videos until later. I just felt isolated from all my friends, my family. TikTok was kind of just there, and then it would just get even lonelier and lonelier. I had no idea that it would make me end up here.
Let's talk about TikTok.
Anxiety, depression, and eating disorders.
The social media giant conceals the dangers of its app, especially to children.
To think what these companies are doing, what they know they're doing, and the harms that are being caused in the real world are horrific, horrific.
The families of two little girls say TikTok caused their deaths.
TikTok's algorithm keeps young people scrolling.
Little is known about the potential mental health impacts it may have.
They have operated under the belief that they are immune.
TikTok has repeatedly chosen the path for more control, more surveillance, and more manipulation.
And they've pulled the wool over all of our eyes.
We will keep safety, particularly for teenagers, as a top priority for us.
And so this algorithm really is gotten very good at looking at your data, looking at behavior, and taking people to directions that they typically wouldn't go in the way they think, the way they act, and actually their social space as well. And if you're finding this disturbing or interesting, go ahead and drop a comment. Make sure you liked and subscribed, because this really is a powerful, powerful episode that I really want to make sure that we can dig deeper in. And my audience really has great insight, so please continue to leave your comments below and we'll continue. So one thing we know for sure, the Trump administration has really pushed hard to have the parent company of TikTok, named ByteDance, to sell the U.S. operations of TikTok to someone else. And that's a powerful place to keep in mind, because the fact is that the United States is at a place where we're going to either pull the plug on TikTok, or we're going to have that assume U.S. ownership. And by saying we're going to have U.S. ownership, we're talking about ByteDance selling TikTok to U.S. investors. That includes the likes of maybe a Rupert Murdoch, maybe Ellison from Oracle. You get the picture. And make sure we're kind of getting this clear as well. This really isn't about TikTok and ByteDance as much as it is who's going to control the future and who's going to control the attention of the next generation. That's what you really need to pay attention to. Because if TikTok is absorbed into a media legacy empire, we know there's some very, very powerful levers that can be pulled now. Think about it. If you can control people's behaviors by pulling the levers of algorithms and then all of a sudden start shaping attitudes, emotions, and actions, you see it's much more powerful than we realize. Now, you may ask yourself the question, okay, how does this affect me? And I'm here to say, check out how this affects your wallet. So algorithms directly affect the way people shop, the way they spend, where they're placing their money, and maybe equally as important, what they take their money out of. So if you can think of it this way, the data that is collected by these social media apps really equal dollars. And those dollars are often monetized by third parties. And of course, if TikTok influences Generation Z, then you also are aware that it's going to influence their spending habits as well. And that too is a very, very powerful algorithm that's going to be put into play for many different companies. And of course, maybe, just maybe down the road, we're talking about antitrust operations as well. Think about this for a minute, that if this algorithm controls the way people think, the way they act, and their spending habits, you know, this all of a sudden becomes a big can of worms that really needs to be sorted out. And maybe the most important part of this is who controls public square, right? Because public square for centuries has been down at the center of a town where people can have discussions, thoughtful arguments, and of course, respect the basic elements outlined inside the First Amendment: freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. And of course, if somebody else controls the public square conversation, we know that with a couple strokes of the keyboard, we can lose those privileges and rights almost immediately right on a computer algorithm. So as always, my recommendation is to go ahead and be diversified in your stock portfolio. Exposure to this social media ideas, never a bad idea, but of course, make sure that you have a wide range of investment opportunities here in front of you, and you don't put all your eggs in one basket. And it's never a bad idea to pay attention to the story, or at least keep it on simmer on the back burner, because there's going to be policies, make no question about it. And with that, there's going to be continual arguing between the political parties about who controls what, and maybe most importantly, who controls the message. And if you note that there's a change in the algorithm, it starts changing the way people think, the way people act, and the way people spend, then you can know that there really is more to the story than just that sale of TikTok. And maybe most of all, maybe sometimes the idea of less screen time is actually a good thing. Maybe call it addition by subtraction. Maybe limiting the amount of time you're spending, reflecting on what you feel like before touching a screen, what you feel like after touching a screen, and of course, maybe be super mindful if you are more anxious or less anxious, because some of these channels have the ability to do that to you. So make no question about it, we live in a world where your attention span really is the new currency, where they take your mind, where they take your eyeballs, where they take your ears, and maybe most of all, where they take your actions by watching one of their channels. And with that, I want to remind you that the biggest battle that we're fighting every single day is the one between our ears over our thoughts, our actions, and our attitude. Smile, say hi to someone, and make sure you are liked and subscribed to this channel, because we're here to help you sort through this stuff, and together we've got a great channel. Have a great day.